Hello, today is Sunday, the 22nd, November the 22nd, 2020. Today I want to start a series of conversations based on balance. Uh, the Lord God created everything with a perfect balance. If we look to the concept of perfection from where we perceive it, let's say we can only see one level of perfection. I mean, perfection would be way farther than what we can actually understand as human beings, just because we are limited in a lot of ways. Our time is limited, our space is limited, and based on that and thinking that God has unlimited space and source and time, it would be just easier and faster to understand that our limitations are going to be present in most of the things, if not all of the things that are related to God, other than the love. I mean, the love is, God's love is the only thing God is. His love is overwhelming. God is pure love, and when we feel pure love, we just get an ecstasy, and I do believe in that sense is what makes us addicted to it. If we experience it to the level of God, I mean, abundance and overwhelming excitement. Coming back to the perfection, the perfect balance, in order for the balance to be perfect, it's got to have its little imbalances for periods of time. Let's say, for instance, if everything is going to be balancing out, when we think on something balancing, is because it's in motion. I mean, it's got some weight on one side and on the other one, the typical scale of the justice or any other scale, to where there is moving parts. So when there is moving parts into a balance, in order to be perfect, these moving parts have to be into this fluctuation in between good and bad that are in constant motion. This motion, for instance, is going to have the good, maybe with more weight for a space of time, and then the bad with more weight for a space of time, to where this makes little imperfections to the perfection of the balance, if I may say. It's exciting, it's just beautiful, because this has layers, and these layers may be abundant and endless, actually, because every single part is got to have its own moving part, its own movement. So if we think of it like it, I mean, where Jesus brought us is just the light that is pushing the darkness. If we look at it from that approach, we may say that he didn't come to destroy the darkness. He displaced it, because the Lord is never going to bring, an extermination of something or termination of something that is balancing the universe. There are many, many things that we all know that are not necessarily good for us as human beings, but they are necessary or needed for the nature or the planet or the universe. They need to exist in order to maintain this balance. So let's just assume, and for me it's totally truth, that we've been created of the image of God, of the Lord. And on this creation and this moment of inspiration of God, when He created us, He put in us a lot of Him. I mean, and then we learn through life that we literally inhabitate in God. I mean, everything is God, so we live in Him. And the idea is to learn how to recognize how this mystery happens, how it's actually happening, even if we're not totally aware of it. So coming back to this part of the perfect balance, in knowing that we've been created at the image and similarities of God, I mean, He gave us freedom. And with freedom, He gave us creativity. I mean, we can create with Him, in Him, and He can create in us, with us, through us. So this relationship of freedom and creation is really exciting, because it's when we discover that we have a lot of power. A power that if we don't know and we're not aware of it, we don't necessarily are productive or constructive. We may be very destructive if we don't understand the power we have through what we can create or the way we can live, not only for us or to us, for others too. So, coming back to that, I mean, when this light displaced the darkness, at the same time, it created an invitation to come to live in the light. And in order to do that, we need to use our free will and be creative about how to live in the light. And that way we don't have to be living in the very boundary of this balance. I mean, most of the creation have to be living, fluctuating in between this good and bad. I mean, this movement that is balancing constantly in order to keep the equilibrium perfect. And if you live in that boundary, one day you're good and the other day you're bad. And then one day you're inspired, the other day you're not. In a way, because we are not God himself, we're just being created to his image and resemblance, we have to fluctuate into that. But even there, the free will just kind of pushes more to take the invitation to be living or inhabiting in the light. So it's a lot of our own decision to see where we want to live and how we want to live in order to be creative, productive, and useful for ourselves and for others. So I love the concept. So at this point, if we think on this balance, we may put as an example somebody who comes with a birth defect. When they are born with some kind of a defect in themselves, it may be, if we think positively about it, that that creation from the very beginning comes with a preset manifestation of the good in the world. So this balance of the bad in the world wanted to start destroying this good creation. That's why that kind of got this little slap into a defect or birth defect into some person, for instance. So that brings us to a struggle of life. I mean, we are all built into the capacity of fighting and struggling for life. Life is, the biggest grace of love. So when we live in the love, we always fight for life, one way or another. And we are helped by others that are fighting for life, and then we give life and we receive life constantly in this flow of love. So if we get started with that little idea, we may think that somebody is coming with some kind of a birth defect that is coming to manifest the glory of God. The glory of the goodness. It is already being attacked or trying to be balanced from birth, even before being alive, in order to compensate. But once that creation of God and that person starts receiving more and more love, all this defect starts disappearing to turn into a manifestation of glory, a manifestation of opportunity to love, to fight for, and that inspiration, the person that is having this little problem may turn into a good inspiration for a lot of people in himself, in order to create a space of love, which is just amazing. It's just beautiful. I want to cut this short to this point in order to understand and to create some kind of a sense of a flow into keep on in touch with you guys and not to overwhelm you. This is already into the 8 minutes. I'm very aware of time. We all live into that line of time. But this series is going to be the balance series. I'm going to be making a series on faith. I'm going to be making a series on prayer. I'm working in Spanish, which is my mother language, as you can tell. And these series are well advanced. But I want to also, for all those who are bilingual, can follow in Spanish too, if you want to. Otherwise, I'll keep on working on this series. For now, it's going to be only 3. Again, it's going to be the balance series, it's going to be the prayer series, and the faith series. I want to keep them less than 10 minutes, just because sometimes it's lengthy to talk about some deep topics. And for all those who are interested in following us, please do. May the peace of the Lord be with you. Thank you very much for listening. God bless you.